Okay, guys, here comes the fun part, the cons of online dating. Okay, so the first one, which I'm sure we're all familiar with, and if you are not, if you haven't experienced this, oh my God, count your lucky stars. But you will sometime. Okay, catfishers. Oh, Lord have mercy. Um, it still blows my mind that there are people who will either steal someone's photo or put up a photo of themselves from 10 fucking years ago. You like, I'm so sorry. You do not look like that. Okay? And the fact that you think that you're going to show up to a date and they're not going to notice that is fucking crazy. Okay? So, my first experience with that was I had been going back and forth talking and texting this guy who lived in Newport, which is kind of far for me. And I was like, okay, and we seemed like we had a connection. So I was excited. So finally, after a month, are you fucking kidding me? Do not wait a month to meet someone. Fuck that. So after a month, he's like, oh yeah, I'll meet you in South Dartmouth. And I hope you're watching this, buddy, because I wanted to fucking rip you a new asshole. Okay. So I get there, I have a drink, thank the Lord. And he comes in, he doesn't look anything like his photo. We're talking that photo was like fucking college and he's 43 years old, okay? So he walks in and I'm at the bar and I'm like, oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me. And the bartender looks at me and goes, would you like a refill? I go, fuck yeah. So I have another one. He comes up, he's like, oh, Michelle. And I'm like, oh, yeah, this is me. And so he's like, oh, wow, you're beautiful. And I'm like, oh, great. Okay, thanks. He's like, okay, well, our table's ready. So they put us, kind of in between two tops. So it's like three two tops, right? So they put us in the middle. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be ugly. So we're sitting there and he's like chit chatting and my wheels are turning like, how the fuck am I going to get out of this date? Like I'm a caged fucking animal. So I'm like, okay, I can make this work. So mind you, these two people on the sides here are having a nice dinner. And so he finally has the audacity to say to me, so what do you think? And I go, I'm sorry, of what? And he goes, of me. And I was like, oh. I go, do you want me to be honest? Don't ever ask me to be honest. It's bad. And he goes, yeah, I want you to be honest. And I go, okay, who the fuck's in your profile photo? These people, like, it was almost like they all just went, oh my God. And they just sat there. And it's like, I looked over to my right and I looked over to my left and they're like waiting for him to answer. And so he goes, what do you mean? I go, what do I mean? You don't look anything like it. And he's like, oh, well, that's like 12 years old. I go, what the fuck? Why would you put a photo that's 12 years old on your profile? You don't look anything like that. And he's like, oh, I'm really sorry. Do you not want to stay for dinner? I go, oh no, you're fucking buying me dinner. I drove from Cape Cod. You're buying me fucking dinner. And he's like, okay. These people must have been like, holy shit, this girl is a bitch. So I will tell you right now, guys and girls, watch out for people like me because we will call you out on your shit. Oh, and another catfisher. I don't even know if he's a cat. Nah, he's a catfisher. Was this other guy who had just chatted me up, and he lived on the North Shore, so it was kind of far. And he was just like all up in my grill, like, and he was engaging. So that kind of was enticing to me because I end up liking narcissists, which he truly was. But so I was like, oh, maybe this one's different. They're never different. So he was like, okay, let's meet. And, he had kept saying to me, oh, so you really look like your photos. And I'm like, yeah, if someone's asking you if you look like your photos, they're fucking projecting. I can guarantee it. They are not being honest about their photos. So make sure you keep that in your mind. If someone keeps going at you about something, they're fucking projecting. So anyways, okay, long story short, I meet him at, I don't know, like Granite Hills. It's like this golf place, which I don't golf, but he does. And he wanted to show me this place. And I was like, all right, whatever. So I get there. I'm waiting in one of these swanky lounge chairs, and there's like these 30-something-year-olds like hitting the balls in the hitting range, whatever that's called. So I'm sitting there and I'm just like, okay, I'm so excited. And it was literally like something out of like an 80s movie, because all of a sudden I look to my left and here is this guy like almost strutting and sashaying, but what he was wearing was so terrible. And I don't mean, and I'm not trying to be shallow in that what he was wearing was the issue. It was just his whole demeanor. Like he had it fucking going on, So he is strutting towards me in like, I don't know, like khaki shorts, okay? These wraparound sunglasses from 1982. And then the worst thing. I hate when guys wear these, especially guys. Oh, guys. Oh, so he has the Under Armour like golf shirt on that shows everything. And he was sporting the worst man tits I've ever seen in my life. I was like, oh my God. So he's walking towards me. These 30-year-olds are watching this all unfold. And I'm like, I just wished I was like a snail and I could have gone into my shell. But I wasn't. I was shit show Shelly waiting for yet another date. So he comes up and he's like, Michelle, why do I never just say no? Like, why don't I just say, no, sorry, you must have the wrong person. Like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Do I love this? Like, no. And I was like, oh, hi. He's like, oh my God, you're gorgeous. And I was like, oh God, can I throw up in my mouth now? So I was like, oh, thank you. That's so nice of you. I just have to say, I have to circle back to the shirt, okay? I absolutely despise these Under Armour polyester golf shirts, and it's like what all the guys wear. And I'm so sorry, but if you're not in good shape, don't fucking wear them. Like, don't even leave your house in them. Like, I'm so sorry, but they're disgusting, okay? Even if you're hot, I would still like cringe if you walked up to me in it. It's not what you wear on a date. Sorry. We'll do a whole nother episode on what you should be wearing, but anyone with man tits, please don't wear those shirts. Okay? Simple. All right. So he says, well, I want to show you around. Basically, he wanted to show me off. Oh, so walks me around this whole facility. It was a beautiful facility. If I were there with someone else, it would have been awesome. So then he's like, oh, well, let's go get some lunch. And luckily, I had given myself a little bit of an out because I was like, fuck. Like, the wheels are turning. I'm like the rat in the cage. Like, how am I going to get out of this? It's the worst feeling. Anyone who's been in that situation where you're like, oh, you just want to be sick because you're like, oh, you just feel bad, because, you're here with this person, but also because you don't want to be there with that person. And yet I don't know, I guess there's probably people who would be like, hey, you know what? Yeah, this isn't going to work. And they'd get in their car and leave. But I, being the stupid bitch that I am, I feel bad. So I'm like, oh, well, I don't want to just, I'll give it a chance. Because you never know. Maybe his personality would make up for the man tits. I don't know. It didn't. Okay. So anyway, so we finally go to this little area where they're serving lunch. And we sit down. And the whole time, I can't even concentrate because I'm just thinking about how the fuck do I get out of here, right? And my friends are texting me like, how's it going? And I'm texting, kill me, shoot me. And they're like, LOL. And I'm like, fuck you. So, he's sitting there talking the whole time about how horrible his ex-wife is and how she screwed up their marriage. And it was all about him. Narcissist. Oh, and I knew it. And didn't ask anything about me, which is fine because I fucking didn't want to talk to him. So finally he says, well, on our next date, I'm going to take you somewhere and I am going to have my way with you. And I was like, this is your chance, shit show Shelly. Fucking take it. And I look at him and I go, well, yeah, yeah. There's not going to be another date. And he's like, what? And I go, yeah, you know how I told you that, like, until you meet someone in person, like, you just don't know if physically it's going to work, or, you know, if there's going to be chemistry. Well, there's no chemistry. And he's like, what are you talking about? There's tons of chemistry. What about all that stuff we talked about last night? See? Because I sexted him, he automatically thinks we're fucking. Like, he thinks we're going to get in his cheesy, I don't know what the fuck he drove in, but we're going to be fucking in the back seat at Granite Hills. So once again, don't sex people, because you give them the impression that is fucking free game. So I said, yeah, you know, like I said, until you meet someone, you don't absolutely know if it's going to work, if there's going to be that chemistry. I'm trying to be fucking nice. Like, this was killing me. And he's like, I can't believe this. He's like, I drove all the way down here. I go, yeah, I know. I'm so sorry. I really appreciate you taking the time. I drove all the way down here as well. But with that said, it's not going to work for me. And the waitress came up right at that time. And she's like, oh, will there be another drink? I was like, not for me. I was like, I'm all set. And he's like, oh, I guess not. I guess we'll be leaving. And she looked at me and I looked at her and I was like, oh. And so, you know, he looked at me. He's like, I'm like, well, I got to get going. And he's like, oh, so you're just going to run off? I go, yeah, I got to get back to my kids on the Cape. Remember, I told you that this was going to be a short thing. And he's like, well, I thought we could at least have some lunch. I'm like, no, I'm sorry. Like, no, let me leave you some money for the drink. He's like, I don't need your money. And I was like, okay, well, thanks so much for taking the drive. And I'm sorry things didn't work out. Like, if I could have fucking flown to my car, I would have. Like, I ran out of there like I had like a shit coming out of my ass. That's how bad it was. Like, I was running. Like, anyone that saw, like, I wish I had a GoPro, because it was just, now that I think about it, it's fucking hysterical. But when it's happening, you're like, oh fuck, not another one. Like, these fucking catfishers, you fucking suck. Just be honest, because you know what? When you're being dishonest, you're doing no good to the person that you're trying to impress, but you're also doing no good to yourself, because there may be someone out there who likes you the way you are. It just wasn't me, because he was a fucking narcissist douche, but who had man tits. Like, I don't mind if you have man tits, but just fucking be up front about it and honest and be like, you know, my body's not the best right now. Okay, that's fine. I know what I'm going into. But when you sit there and you try and tell me, like, you better have a good body, blah, 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 and then you show up with these flabby man tits, fuck you. So I'm just telling you, catfishers, I fucking hate you. Hate you. The next